Welcome to AI Paper Podcasts. Today we are jumping straight into DGPO, Distribution-Guided Policy Optimization for Fine-Grained Credit Assignment by researchers at Peking University, SJTU, and Tsinghua University.
And if you're an ML engineer or, an AI researcher, here is the fast, high-density summary of why you should care. Current RL paradigms for LLMs, like GRPO, they suffer from coarse sequence-level credit assignment, and they use these completely unbounded KL divergence penalties.
Right.
And together, those two things basically crush a model's ability to explore long chain of thought reasoning.
And DGPO is the fix for that, right?
Yeah.
It solves this without the massive computational overhead of, like, a process reward model.
Yeah.
It swaps that volatile KL penalty for a bounded Hellinger distance to safely encourage exploration.
Yeah, exactly.
And it introduces this really clever policy entropy gating mechanism to just filter out confident hallucinations.
It does, and the results are honestly massive. When they applied DGPO to the Quen 2.532b model, it hit a 60% accuracy on the AIME2024 math benchmark. Yeah, 60%, which completely crushes the highly competitive DPO baseline. And get this, it does all of that while adding a mere 3.6% time overhead compared to standard GRPO.
That is just, that's a staggering result for a 3.6% overhead. But, okay, let's slow down and unpack this deep dive. Because to really appreciate the math here, we need to understand the baseline problem DGPO is fixing.
Right, the bottleneck.
Exactly. Let's start with Standard Group Relative Policy Optimization, or GRPO. It's super popular right now because you get to drop the heavy value network, the critic.
Which saves a ton of compute.
Right. But the trade-off is that GRPO relies on a really coarse sequence-level advantage.
Yeah, so instead of scoring every single token, GRPO just calculates a single scalar reward for entire generated response. So, it generates a bunch of responses to a prompt, subdues them based on the final answer, and then just compares those to find the relative advantage of the whole trajectory.
It's, think about it like grading a highly complex 10-page calculus exam by only looking at the final answer, circled at the very bottom of the last page.
That's a really good way to put it.
Because in standard GRPO, the model gets one score, and that score is broadcasted uniformly backward across like thousands of generated tokens.
Yeah, which is a huge problem.
Right, because that means the pivotal logical deduction, the exact aha moment where the model substituted the right variable and cracked the problem, gets the exact same amount of credit as the word therefore, or a redundant comma. It just highly dilutes the learning signal.
It totally dilutes it. And that uniform reward is really just the first half of the bottleneck. The second half is the unbounded reverse callback libel, or KL divergence penalty.
Ah, the KL trap.
Exactly. In standard RLHF, you use the KL divergence penalty to keep the policy from collapsing, right? It acts like a leash. But in long horizon reasoning, it creates this intense mode-seeking conservatism.
Because it mathematically punishes the model for trying something new.
Yes. If the model attempts a highly novel, low-probability reasoning trajectory, basically an area where the reference model assigns a near-zero probability, the log term in the KL penalty just diverges to infinity.
Which causes severe gradient instability.
Utterly shatters the optimization landscape.
Because mathematically, if the denominator in that ratio approaches zero, taking the log of a near-infinite ratio means the penalty explodes.
Right.
So the model is effectively penalized for being innovative. If it finds a brilliant shortcut, the optimization collapses. It just traps its reasoning capabilities within that safe pre-trained distribution.
It's terrified to step out of line. So to solve this KL trap, we can't just remove the penalty, right? Without it, the model just hacks the reward. We have to fundamentally rethink what deviation actually means in RL.
And this is the core philosophical shift of DGPO that I absolutely love. What if diverging from the reference distribution isn't an error that we need to punish, but a guiding signal?
Yes.
Like, if it got the right answer, the tokens that deviated the most from the base model are probably the exact cognitive leaps that solve the problem.
That's the exact insight. And to measure that safely, DGPO swaps the unbounded reverse KL divergence for the bounded Hellinger distance.
Okay, so let's get into the weeds on Hellinger. Why does this bounded distance fix the gradient explosion?
Well, it relies on the Paratoria coefficient. So instead of a ratio and a logarithm, it measures the overlap between two distributions using the element-wise square roots of their probabilities.
Oh, I see.
And because both policies are valid probability distributions, meaning they sum to 1, we can rely on the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality, which guarantees the resulting metric is strictly bounded between 0 and 1.
So it physically cannot explode.
Yeah.
Even if the base model assigns a literal 0 probability to a novel token. The worst that happens is the overlap is 0, and the distance just smoothly saturates at exactly 1.
Exactly. No logarithms, no division by 0. It safely quantifies token-level exploration without the risk of gradient explosion.
Okay, theory is great, but I'm looking at you for the empirical proof here. What happens if we keep everything else about DGPO the same, but we swap the Hellinger distance back to the reverse KL divergence?
They actually ran that exact ablation study on the Quen 2.57b model. Reverting to the reverse KL causes early convergence to suboptimal local minima. The pass at 1 accuracy on AIME2024 plummets from 43% straight down to 34%.
Wow, almost a 10% drop.
Yeah, so bounding the distance is absolutely critical.
Okay, but I have to push back here.
Yeah.
Because if you explicitly build a system where large deviation equals a high reward signal, isn't the model just going to confidently hallucinate rare, incorrect tokens to cheat the system? Like just farming deviation scores?
Yeah, that is a massive vulnerability, and it's the exact reason for DGPO's second major innovation, which is the policy entropy gating mechanism.
Hallucination filter.
Right. DGPO scales the Hellinger distance by the model's normalized epistemic uncertainty. Essentially, it's Shannon entropy.
So wait, how does that create different states for the model?
Well, think about the two states it creates. State 1 is deliberate exploration. This is high deviation plus high epistemic uncertainty.
Meaning the model knows it's guessing.
Exactly. Its probability distribution is very flat. It's exploring an unknown path, so the gate opens and the gradient is amplified. It gets rewarded.
And state 2 would be the confident hallucinations. High deviation, but low epistemic uncertainty.
You nailed it. The model is confidently generating out-of-distribution noise. Its probability curve is heavily peaked on something totally wrong. The gate recognizes this as a fake innovation and just aggressively compresses the score to 0.
That is so smart. It's using its own internal doubt as a BS detector. And the ablation data backs this up too, right? Because if you turn off this entropy scaling factor, like setting kappa to 0, the pass at 1 accuracy degrades by a full 5% on AIME2024.
Yeah, unconstrained deviation just breeds hallucination.
Okay, so we've got these brilliantly filtered entropy-gated token scores. But how do we actually apply them? Because we still have that coarse sequence level advantage from GRPO, right?
Right.
How does this fine-grained credit reallocation maths actually work?
So the scores are transformed into token-level importance weights using a temperature-scaled softmax function. But if you just run a softmax over thousands of tokens, the weights vanish. So to prevent the gradient from vanishing, the output is explicitly scaled by the sequence length, which they call T sub I.
Oh, right. Because scaling it by the sequence length guarantees that the mean of the weights across the sequence remains strictly 1.
Exactly. The total mass of the reward is perfectly conserved, just redistributed.
Though you have to be careful with the hyperparameter sensitivity to that temperature, tau, inside the softmax. Because if tau is set too high, say like 5.0, the weights wash out into a uniform distribution.
Yeah, and then you just revert back to standard GRPO.
Right. And if it's too low, like 0.1, the updates get highly sparse and unstable. So the sweet spot they found is really between 0.5 and 1.0.
Yeah, that's where the magic happens.
And I love figure 4 from the paper because it lets you actually visualize this reallocation working. For you listening, just picture this. In standard GRPO, every single token in a mathematical proof is just a uniform, flat, yellow heat map. Exactly, no variation. But in DGPO, a pivotal substitution, like swapping in 3 to the power of 4, or a key reasoning step, it glows dark red with amplified gradients. While all the grammatical filler around it just fades away, the credit goes exactly where it belongs.
It really does extract the rich, token-by-token supervisory signals that you'd normally only get from a heavy process reward model.
Which brings up a huge question for any engineer listening. Fine-grained token routing sounds insanely computationally heavy. Did they have to reintroduce a massive process reward model, a PRM, to pull this off?
That's the punchline of the whole paper. No, DGPO is entirely critic-free.
Wait, really? How?
Well, think about what DGPO needs. It utilizes the exact same logit tensors that are already required to compute the standard sequence-level KL divergence.
Because those vocabulary logits from the current policy and the reference policy are already loaded in memory.
Exactly. So they just apply element-wise square roots and softmax accumulations directly on the GPU. It totally bypasses the need for any additional neural network forward passes.
That is incredibly slick. And the computational profiling stats on the Qwen 2.570B model just prove it. Traditional PPO with a critic consumes 72.4 gigabytes of peak memory and processes about 85 tokens per second.
Which is slow and heavy.
Right. But DGPO uses only 46.5 gigabytes. That is virtually identical to vanilla GRPO. And it processes 188 tokens per second. It's literally just a marginal 3.6% time overhead for massive performance gain.
Yeah, the hardware efficiency is uncompromised, and that's exactly why they could scale it up to the massive Qwen 2.532B base model. And by the way, that base model had zero prior exposure to long-form code synthetic data.
So all the reasoning came from the DGPO training.
Exactly. And the final AI results on that 32B model, DGPO hits a staggering 60.0% average accuracy across 32 samples on AIME2024. DDPO, which is a highly competitive baseline, got stuck at 50%.
Left in the dust.
Truly. And on the brutal AIME2025 benchmark, DGPO reached 46.0%.
That's incredible. So to kind of summarize the core achievement here for everyone listening, DGPO manages to extract the rich token-by-token supervisory signals of a heavy process reward model, but it executes it with the sleek, uncompromising hardware efficiency of a purely sequence-level objective.
It's the best of both worlds.
It really is. It fixes the KL trap, it safely rewards deviation, and it keeps the compute budget intact.
You know, it leaves you with a really provocative thought, too, if we build on the paper a bit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so DGPO proves that epistemic uncertainty is essentially the ultimate BS detector for objective mathematical reasoning, right?
Right.
But how might this exact entropy-gated Hellinger reallocation fundamentally alter open-ended subjective generation?
Oh, wow. Like beyond math.
Yeah, if we apply this to coding or creative writing or even multi-agent negotiation where the reference distribution is, way less objective, could this gating mechanism naturally teach LLMs the difference between a stroke of creative genius and just hallucinatory nonsense?
I mean, if you can learn to identify its own intentional divergence while filtering out the confident errors, that could change everything for creative AI.
Absolutely.
Well, that's definitely something to mull over. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. Make sure you subscribe to AI Paper Podcasts for more explorations into the technical frontier of machine learning. Until next time.